Alex has got the whole back. Youth, mostly youth.
Youth, that's youth.
We are back at the Detroit Athletic Club. It is Dave Chapman Returns 2008. Dave Vincent along with Dave Fink. Emmett Peixoto stepping into the court. Former #1 ranked pro Emmett Peixoto. That is, in fact, he, at one point, Dave, as you know, he was the Australian three-wall national title holder, Canadian national champion, and the American three-wall national champion, and formerly ranked #1 in the world. But all those rankings and all those titles mean absolutely nothing to one of the greatest players that's ever played this game. Dave Chapman steps in with his 8-time singles national trophies, as we have a big, huge return and a comeback from a retirement in Dave Chapman. Both of these guys, you're close friends. What are your thoughts?
I think Emmett's certainly favored in this match. Dave Chapman hasn't played a match since the 2004 Toledo three-wall nationals, which a tournament he was unable to complete. Dave Chapman did win his last ever four-wall tournament, winning the 2004 USHA four-wall nationals, defeating Paul Brady, Tony Healy, Nani Alvarado Jr. on his way to his 8th national singles four-wall championship.
But at this point, do these titles mean anything? Because Dave Chapman hasn't seen any tournament play for 3.5 years. Emmett's probably played more tournaments than anybody on this planet in the last 3.5 years.
Very high-ranked player in the U.S. Let's welcome Emmett Peixoto.
Here's your referee, Danny Bell. Doesn't know the actual ranking of #3 pro Emmett Peixoto at the time.
Knows it's high, though.
Yeah, but it's a high ranking. Danny Bell regarded as one of the greatest referees in the game.
Been waiting for this. World champ, national champ, many national champion, David Chapman.
Dave Chapman actually wearing his poker sunglasses to play in this match, Dave.
He doesn't want Emmett to read any of his shots. Dave Chapman looking kind of a cross between maybe a Ryan Grossenbacher look and a guy you'd see playing poker. There it is. He's already going into junk time. This is exactly what the doctor ordered here.
There's a beautiful left there from Emmett. Actually, Dave, you and I both agree that that's Emmett's stronger side offensively, that left hand.
Emmett going to the lob serve.
Actually, talking with Emmett quite a bit going into this match. The last time we saw Emmett, we saw him lose pretty decisively to Ireland's Desi Keegan. He said he's going back to what made him such a great player. Emmett feels like the ceiling in the lob serve game is really the best part of his game. Wow. Not so sure how that'll work playing against the greatest player in the history of that sort of game, Dave Chapman.
That replay there, you see Dave just flattening out that ball up front. As you said earlier, that's the referee, Danny Bell, has extended his career another 10 years because he learned how to flatten a ball like that.
There's a shot I can guarantee you Emmett hasn't seen once in all those tournaments he's played over the last 3.5 years. Dave Chapman feathering that ball, dumping that ball into the right corner. Interesting, we've seen Emmett miss the ceiling both times on that lob serve return. I don't know if he's doing that deliberately to keep that ball away from the ceiling or just miss-hit both of those returns.
Score is 2 serves 1.
As you and I both know, Dave, there's been a lot of build-up coming into this match, a lot of things being said, mostly from Emmett, actually. Emmett says that he's going to use this match to announce his springboard into the domination of professional handball.
And Dave Chapman turns around, and when we told Dave that Emmett was one of the top pros in handball, he couldn't believe that Emmett Peixoto was even ranked as a professional player. And that was about the only comment we got from Dave Chapman. It was somewhat cocky, but I think he was trying to make his point that he was trying to tell the world that he knew he'd comfortably beat Emmett, but Emmett's going to come in here and prove something different.
Emmett's going to see different variety of shots in a completely different game than he's seen. For those of you who don't know, Emmett was schooled by David Chapman as a young up-and-coming player, actually attending his camps, spending a lot of time with Dave in St. Louis. This has always been Emmett's idol and still is, actually.
That's Emmett's strong point right there, taking that left hand, letting it drop, and then smoking it down the left wall. Watch this replay. Emmett lets that ball drop and then just gets over the top of it, slides it back down the wall. Very hard to do for a guy that's actually as strong hand as his right hand.
That's very unusual there. Dave Chapman missing a return of serve.
Score is 3-3.
You get the feel, Dave, that Dave Chapman's in the feeling out process here. It looks like Emmett's coming out, looking to establish himself.
Watching this replay, watch how Dave lets that ball, look how low that ball gets to the ground. That's amazing right there, Dave. You just don't see the current pros letting the ball drop that far. Look at that ball, he just lets that ball drop so much.
It's a great dig there by Emmett.
I mean, if you're not in awe of watching Dave Chapman take those balls off the ground, that's a perfect shot from Dave.
So much talk about Dave being such a defensive genius. Dave has probably the greatest array of offensive shots with both hands of anybody that's ever played this game. Uncanny anticipation.
That ball was hit a little too hard from Dave, and Emmett makes him pay for it off the back wall. Nice left-handed shot. Looking at the replay here, look how far that ball comes, all the way almost out to the short line, at least to the approach line.
Actually froze Dave Chapman there. You don't see that very much. Dave Chapman didn't even make a move for that ball.
Dave actually did not put a good return on that. Emmett did not capitalize either, though.
This is sort of what I expected, Dave. Emmett coming out and really showing that he's a more physically dominant player, more athletic, and I said this before, I don't think Emmett will have much trouble in this match at all.
Let's see what Dave does on that second serve. Does he go back to that high Z? Back to the ceiling. Look at that fist shot right there. Just handcuffs Emmett. That looked like Dave actually loaded up just a little bit too with that fist shot. Put a little extra on it.
5 serving 3 here.
Look at that power.
Emmett very fortunate there. Dave expecting that ball to hit the right side wall and the back wall. Would have been an easy offensive opportunity for him. Beautiful shot there by Emmett, pinning Dave in that deep left-hand corner. That's a shot, Dave, that we wouldn't see Dave Chapman miss once in an entire tournament 3.5 years ago.
There's a nice return from Emmett off the back wall with his right hand. Taking a quick look here, he lets the ball get down there below his knee. It's not a perfect kill shot, but it did get the job done. And
it was almost a kill/pass straight down the right wall.
You and I are thinking exactly on the same page and just about said the same thing. Emmett lets that ball drop, but he just missed it low. Dave Chapman, one of our most celebrated players in this game. He is certainly one of the most methodical players to ever play this game. And it's such a delight to see. You tune in watching Dave Chapman, you're going to see high percentage handball, but you're also going to see one of the most smartest players to ever play this sport.
Dave Chapman consistently able to run those ceiling shots straight down the side walls.
There's a skip shot from Dave. Very rare to see him make a miss like that.
Emmett sticking with this lob serve. Really has not had much success with it early in this match. Dave Chapman putting him right back into the corners.
Nice call. Good call.
The crowd pretty pleased here with Danny Bell's performance thus far.
We've seen more clapping for the referee than we have for the players.
Well, we're only watching the greatest player of all time and one of the greatest players in today's game. Got a good chance to see this replay here. Watch how he lets this ball drop.
Does he hit that with a fist? It didn't seem like that regular soft underhand paddle shot that he has. It looked like he actually punched that with his fist. That could be a mistake.
Almost any other top pro you'll see will shoot that ball. Dave Chapman content to send that ball back to the ceiling and wait for a better opportunity.
I know Sean Linning would have shot that ball. But Dave is so comfortable with that top board up there, hitting the ceiling shot so well.
We're seeing a much improved right hand from Emmett Peixoto here. Just as I say that, Dave, we see a little bit of that glitch that we've seen for the last couple of years.
That's the 4th one that he's missed so far in the beginning of this game. It's 5-5. Oh, there's that shot that Dave has become known for, that little punch fist shot that actually slides the wall. Watch how he goes over that side there, keeps the ball from doing anything in the backcourt, hits the side wall and just dies.
Don't think Dave didn't notice Emmett being uncomfortable with that return of serve immediately. Dave already gave himself a little break after he hit that kill, knew Emmett wasn't going to bring it back, and already started his walk around the court. This is the modified overhand Z serve that Dave Chapman sort of created later in his career. It'd be interesting, Dave, if we track the amount of running Emmett does compared to the amount of running Dave Chapman does. You'd have to think Emmett's probably running 3 to 4 times more than Dave Chapman.
Oh, look at that beautiful shot from Dave right there.
Emmett got a tour of the court right there. He was side to side and front to back, all in 1 point. Dave Chapman maintaining his position right there in the center of the court.
So Dave is mixing up the serve. I guess he figured that going to that lob serve and being tied at 5-5 wasn't someplace that he wanted to be, so he decided to mix it up just a little bit. Emmett calling the first time out of this game. Okay, so we're seeing Dave Chapman for the first time in 3.5 years, Dave. You're good friends with Dave Chapman. You've watched him play. You've analyzed his game. Does he look the same as he did back in Portland in 2004? Is there any difference to him right now for what you've seen for the first 15 minutes of his return?
I've seen Dave Chapman miss a couple of shots that I wouldn't normally see him miss, but we do have to remember this is his first match of the day. I'm sure, you know, in Portland his first match was actually against Ryan Grossenbacher, gave up more points in that match than he did against Paul Brady even. So even for the great players, you're working out a few kinks in that first round, and as we know, this is just a one match exhibition, so Dave Chapman's going to take maybe about a half a game here to get himself sorted out.
Is he nervous at all, do you think, because the cameras are on him? It's being webcasted live across the world. People are tuning in to watch him play.
I think he's very comfortable playing against Emmett. I don't think the cameras have any effect on anything he's going to do. If anything, Dave, I think the only thing he's nervous about is his fitness. Will he be able to hold up for an entire match at this level?
Well, if Emmett keeps playing like that, I don't know if he's going to have to worry about his fitness too much. Emmett's really driving balls into the ground with his right hand.
To me, Emmett's shooting the ball a little bit too much right now. Dave, he's not making Dave Chapman work as much as he should.
Just as you say that all came to a quick end. Dave now getting down on the floor, getting a little dirty. And
Emmett may not win points hitting pass shots, but he's certainly going to wear Dave Chapman down. You'd have to think Emmett would have a decided advantage should this game go into 2 close games or a tiebreaker.
Well, if he's going to try to wear Dave down, wouldn't you think that during the times when he is actually serving the ball, that Emmett would maybe do something other than a lob serve? I mean, because Dave's not expelling any type of energy when he's out there retrieving Emmett's serve. But then again, Emmett has to get in the server's box. 5 unanswered points right now for Dave Chapman. That beautiful kill shot off the back wall. Textbook from Dave Chapman.
That's a breathtaking shot
right here from the ground level. Look at that. It's only just 4 inches off the ground he takes that ball. You just don't see players doing that.
And look at how uncomfortable Emmett is returning that serve.
And then when Dave wanted to throw some power out there, he just pops that ball right down. A perfect pass shot. This is almost like a 3-wall shot.
And look at how he uses his body and blocks Emmett out, drives that ball straight down the right wall. That was an overhand, open hand shot, Dave.
It's amazing.
What we saw here with Dave Chapman, Dave and Emmett played pretty much even 5-5 while Dave was serving that lob serve. Dave's gone to that modified overhand Z and scored 7 unanswered points. There's a nice kill there from Emmett.
Just a small bright point for a game that hasn't been too flavorful for Emmett, but his left hand looks pretty good.
One difference I'm seeing, Dave, between Emmett and Dave Chapman is Dave Chapman found a serve that wasn't really working all that well. His lob serve, he switched his serve. Emmett's staying with this lob serve. I'd like to see Emmett experiment with a couple of different serves. And that's what Emmett's going to need to do more of. Even though Dave pops that ball to the ceiling, he's got Dave moving backwards.
Boy, look what Dave wanted to put, when he wants to put power on a ball, he just takes his whole body, and it's absolutely amazing. I just don't see a lot of guys do it. Look at how much power he puts into that ball.
He hits that ball so hard, but it's not coming off the back wall.
He really gets his body into that, his whole body into that shot. Very unassuming in there, and then all of a sudden he cranks one of those out.
Very uncharacteristic there for Emmett. Completely off balance trying to pick up that corner kill. He anticipated perfectly, never got himself turned or his feet set to play that shot.
Dave hit that one a little too high, but
look at the awkward position Dave puts Emmett in returning that serve. Emmett's hitting a windmill left-hand overhand shot there. Really no opportunity to do anything with that ball.
Whenever you see handball on movies from Hollywood, you always see the players hitting returns like that. They don't know exactly what they're doing. The actors don't, so they just kind of try to return the ball. That's what Emmett looked like there for a short time.
Dave's theory is when he dives, he's going to end the rally. Either he's going to kill the ball or he's going to miss his shot, but he's not going to dive and prolong the rally. Watch here.
He knows exactly where Emmett's standing, blocks him out in a legal block, and then slides the ball back down the wall. 15 serve 6 is the score. Dave Chapman returns. It's almost like you see the young talent trying to play a ceiling game and a wraparound game with the wraparound pro. Emmett is so fast. He gets up there and actually forces that replay. A lot of other players would have been just a point for Dave Chapman. Wouldn't have been able to get up there fast enough. But Danny picks up Emmett's quickness. 15-6, 2 serves.
I think Emmett's speed could actually work against him here in this match. Emmett gets so content just to retrieve balls and forgets his objective out there, which is to try and control the court.
Wow. Amazing shot right there. I don't know if you want to call this junk time or not, but what is this here? Who takes that shot? It's like an old guy getting off the recliner to pick up his brew. And some pretzels. He's reaching for the pretzel bag.
We haven't seen Dave Chapman miss a shot since it was 5-5 here in the first game. Pretty much played flawless handball here to take a 16-6 lead.
Back to that serve that's given him, what was about 9-2. There's another miss there, but that's the first miss with his left hand. They were tied at 5 at one point. Emmett's now serving 6-16. Dave changes his serve, and you can see the whole game has changed. We were talking about the players when they usually get into a tournament. You're a pro player, you know what I'm talking about. You get in that feely out mode where you want to feel your opponent out just a little bit. Dave was in that for about 3 points. There was no more feeler out for Dave.
That's a terrible shot there from Emmett. Emmett had a very easy opportunity to end this point. Now he finds himself back into a neutral rally. Unusual there for Dave. He usually put that ball away.
There's that slider. That is an amazing shot right there. Let's watch how Dave does this. Is it with a fist or an open hand?
That's
fist
a
shot.
fist that he comes over and runs straight down that wall. You see how that ball straightens out. An open hand's going to bounce into that side wall.
Wow, look at that thing just cut right there on the first bounce.
Emmett lost that rally, but he can't be too unhappy with that. He forced Dave Chapman to hit about 15 or 16 shots there and ran him around a little bit.
Nice pass from Emmett, but Dave somehow gets there. One of the best left hands in the business.
Looks to me, Dave, like Emmett doesn't really have a purpose out there. Dave Chapman certainly has a game plan. He's executing it. Emmett just seems to be in retrieval mode. Forcing it a little bit right there. We know Emmett likes to kill the ball with his left hand off the back wall, but that ball was just about an inch from the side wall.
Sometimes you just have to tell yourself, I'm not going to kill this ball. Throw it back to the ceiling and reset it. That's a nice pass from Emmett Peixoto.
Now, Dave, if you're Emmett here, are you going to let this game go, or are you going to try and make a comeback? I say build some momentum for the next game.
I think you have to try to force Dave Chapman around to try to weaken those legs. He hasn't played a big match in 3.5 years. I do everything I can to keep doing what's going on right here and make sure that these rallies go on for 20 shots or so. Let's see if this ball's in or out. Dave thinks it's good. Emmett thinks it's bad.
That's a good shot.
That looks like it makes it.
Unfortunately for Emmett, Dave, I think that was a
No, it
skip.
it certainly made it on the front wall. I think Dave saw it, but the referee didn't.
Strange call there.
No, it clearly made the front wall. He saw the ball come back.
You know, if Emmett called it a skip, he had the best view of it, and Emmett is about as honest a play as there is. I think
well, Emmett was standing behind Dave Chapman on that shot, so I don't know how Emmett would see it more than anybody else. Our camera picked it up between Dave Chapman's legs. That ball had a better chance of skipping than the previous one.
Disagree with you.
The score is 10-16. It's all right. You've disagreed before. It's the Dave Chapman returns match from Detroit, the Detroit Athletic Club. It's Dave Vincent along with broadcasting partner David Fink, watching truly one of the most hyped matches that we've seen in recent years. Dave Chapman coming out of retirement, getting off the Barca lounger to come out here to see if he can actually play top handball against a player that was a former #1. We're talking, when I say former, within the last few months, former #1 player in the world. He's held a few titles himself, Emmett Peixoto has. Good friends.
You notice there, Dave, Emmett scored four straight points. Dave Chapman does not hesitate. He calls a timeout immediately. Wants to disrupt any momentum Emmett might be gaining here. You see a lot of players too stubborn to call a timeout in a position like that, Dave.
Get ready. As you make play, Emmett Peixoto serving. Score is 10-16.
Emmett back to that lob serve. Kind of surprised he's doing that instead of putting Dave, making Dave run back and forth with maybe more of a power serve.
I'm going to be the first to tell you, Dave, that his power serve is probably the weakest part of his game. Doesn't have a great power serve like a Sean Lenning or a Nadi Alvarado Jr. Feels that the lob serve gives him the best chance to get the rally started.
11-16.
That was a strange replay, but I totally agreed to it. And if Dave was a little closer to Emmett, I can even see some referees giving an avoidable hinder on that. Dave now looks like he's lost a little momentum here, a little zip. Made a couple hand errors in the front court.
I'm not so sure if Dave is just tired right now or just a little bit inconsistent from a lack of play. Or maybe tremendous back wall kill right there. We get a good look at this. This is a left hand right here. That ball's about an inch high.
Maybe Dave's a little bored.
Great ceiling shot there from Emmett.
That's the 4th hand error I've seen Dave make here in the last.
I'm not sure I'd call that a hand error. That ball was sliding right down the wall.
Maybe we need to look up that word hand error in the dictionary, the Handball dictionary.
I'm sure we could call James Comstock. He could fax us that definition.
Something that Dave's been able to do throughout his career as good as anybody else is he knows just how quick his opponent is, and when that ball ended up bouncing for the second time, Emmett was just a fraction away from it. He's been able to do that for so many years. Knows how to read his opponent just as good as anybody.
You see Dave Chapman go back to that lob serve. He notices Emmett getting a little bit of a rhythm on that overhand modified Z serve.
Nice call.
Yeah, that was a good call by the ref. Dave looks back at Danny Bell and gives him a point saying, thank you for letting me play through this.
Look at how Emmett stays down here.
17 serves 12.
It's interesting to see Dave point toward the referee there.
Emmett's a little bit out of control right now, Dave. It looks to me like he's over swinging a little bit, actually trying to knock the front wall down. Sacrificing a lot of his control by trying to blast the ball so hard. We actually did an interview promoting this event with Emmett and Dave Chapman about a week ago. We heard Emmett sort of bragging about how much power he has, that Dave Chapman won't be able to handle it. Dave Chapman calmly told him that those 100-mile-per-hour shots are going to come off the back wall and he's going to kill them, and he's done just that.
Well, over his career, he's played against Toddy Severa and John Bike, the two harder hitters of our generation. And Dave says that he loves the hard hitters. He loves playing against guys that hit the ball hard.
Dave loves playing against people that hit it hard, hit it easy. It doesn't bother him.
Look at that beautiful shot right there. He just takes so much off of it. Most players take 50% off, or at least try to just cut the ball in half. He seems to even take a little bit more off than that.
What makes Dave so great in that front court area is he's able to shorten up his swing, so it gives him enough time to handle that power. A lot of players, Emmett included, Dave, have a tendency to take too long of a swing up there in that front court. And as you know, Dave, when that ball is coming at you 80 or 90 miles per hour, you don't have time for that long swing.
Look at Dave go over the side of that ball, keep it down the right wall. Wow, look at that direction right there.
Great
Nice.
get there from Emmett.
I was surprised to see Dave go back to the ceiling. I thought maybe it'd be junk time where he goes over the top of the ball. Let's listen for the score here. Danny Bell's our ref. It's 19-12.
Let's take a watch here, Dave, how Dave Chapman uses the entire court, virtually each point.
Nice move from Dave. That's an impressive move right there. He hits the ball right back at himself. Some people think that that's cheating, but it's just great gamesmanship. Talking about a crafty player, he hit that ball right back at himself. He knows that it's going to be called a hinder. He gets back in there and gets to serve again. That ball peppers that side wall. You are not going to out-ceiling Dave Chapman. He practices that shot. Nice return from Emmett, put it in a good spot.
He's got Emmett buried in that left corner this entire rally.
Nice. Dave's brutal. I don't think he lets this ball drop like he normally does. He really gets his body into it, but he also goes over the top of the ball and keeps it down.
Dave's got a number of different swings he can use. Back to that lob serve.
Wow, that's a close one there, but I think it's a good call. Emmett is so fast out there, you can never underestimate Emmett's speed. Here it is, possible game, serves 12. Who would have thought Dave Chapman would be serving to beat Emmett Peixoto on a first game back in 3.5 years? And there it is. Dave Chapman beats Emmett Peixoto in the first game, his first game back since 2004. And we are back at the Detroit Athletic Club. It is the showdown in Detroit. Dave Chapman returning to pro handball against Emmett Peixoto. Dave Chapman won the first game 21-12. My name is Dave Vincent, broadcasting partner Dave Fink. Having a good time in the broadcast booth. All the crowd here, the members of the Blackballers Club in Detroit tuning in. Live, though, from the stands in the gallery. They watch from the balcony, all packed in, having a great time. Crowd going crazy with watching this return of Dave Chapman and all the festivities here at the Detroit Athletic Club today.
I don't think anyone really knew what to expect in that first game back from Dave Chapman. I'm not entirely shocked at that first game result. I still expect Emmett to come back and win this match.
Dave took 3 straight shots there where he was off balance.
I think if you're an Emmett Peixoto fan, you have to be a little discouraged with that opening rally. Emmett did end up winning it, earning that first point, but you have to wonder what was going through Emmett's mind during that 5-minute timeout between the first and second game. Emmett's a very analytical player. We see immediately he went to that power serve. Now, what I meant by being discouraged by that first rally, Dave, was that I'd like to see Emmett utilize his pass shot a little bit more. Far too many kill shot attempts from Emmett. You'll see the difference, Dave, between Dave Chapman and Emmett. When Dave Chapman goes for the kill, the rally's over. Emmett goes for the kill, and Dave Chapman's picked up nearly every single one of them.
That was amazing right there. You said this earlier. Emmett doesn't see this too often. He had a ball right there off the back wall that would have pretty much been a point against anybody. Dave's standing right there, and he just returned dunk, kills it, and he hits it at half speed. And Emmett really put a lot of leverage into that one.
That's a nice shot there from Emmett. Obviously not the toughest shot, but...
Well, he had to take it just like that because he wanted to pin Dave right behind him, so he had to kind of freeze his legs a little bit, which meant he was a little bit out of position, but he hit the ball exactly perfect. Amazing shot from Dave. Like you said, if he's going to go down the floor, he's going to end the rally. This is a shot that he's basically patented. I mean, technically, if you take that shot during a tournament or even in practice down at your local club, you have to write a check when you get home and send it to Dave Chapman. He actually has a patent on that shot, but not too many people are able to do it. Therefore, Dave Chapman is not a rich man because of that.
Dave Chapman just pushing Emmett back, shot after shot, driving him into the backcourt.
Dave coming out with that Z.
Emmett got a pretty good swing on that Z serve there. Actually looked pretty comfortable returning that.
Oh, look at that shot right there. I like that. More of a big ball shot. I believe
Completely changes the pace of the rally. That's almost a sidearm fist to the ceiling. Fist. Emmett fortunate there, tried to shoot that ball in front of Dave. Dave left that ball up into the right corner.
There's a little loss of focus right there. It's a replay, and Emmett thought he was serving.
That could be seen as an incredibly high level of focus. He doesn't even know who's serving. He's so consumed by the game. A couple ways of looking at that.
Well, I hope he's looking at it the way you just said it. I don't think so, though. That's a nice shot.
Beautiful form there.
Nice replay from Jeff Kastner, Kastner Productions. This match brought to you by the World of Pro Handball and the Detroit Athletic Club. I think Detroit has proven to everybody in the world that they can hold a professional handball event. That might have been a little too high and a mistake for Dave. Emmett does not make Dave pay for that, but I don't know what happened there. Did he miss the ceiling? You don't
like
see
Dave Chapman did just miss the ceiling. Frustrating there for Emmett.
I saw Dave lift his hands just a little bit, as almost to say that might have been screened just a little bit.
That's the danger of serving the power serve to Dave Chapman. If that ball comes even six inches to a foot off the back wall, it's just a setup for him.
I've never seen a player let the ball drop so far to the ground. I mean, if you're watching this at home, wherever the heck you're watching this, during the replays of those balls off the back wall, really focus on how low Dave Chapman is letting that ball drop. This is something that you really, really need to go in and practice. If you want to get better, let that ball drop. You've seen so many times over the years when you've tried, Dave, to mentor somebody and show them, let the ball drop off the back wall, and they're still hitting it 3 feet off the ground. And you say, I want it to hit your foot almost before you hit it. Dave Chapman actually takes that literally. Really letting that ball get down there.
I'm unfortunate there. I think he knows it.
Score is 2-2 here. Second game, Dave Chapman won the first one, 21-12. That's the kind of a difference between the two players is if Dave Chapman was taking that shot right there, he wouldn't go for a kill shot. He'd just find a way to wrap it back around. Emmett sees a ball at his left and automatically thinks, I'm going to try to roll this out. Shot selection's very important in this game.
Emmett looks a lot more comfortable here in this game. Emmett seemed pretty anxious there in that first game. Actually put a lot of pressure on himself coming into this match, Dave.
You hear that little click? That was Emmett hitting the back wall with his left hand to try to gauge where he was standing. The court mic picked it up from the referee's microphone. Dave just barely misses that dump shot up there. You and I both were able to train with Dave just recently back in his hometown. And one of the elements missing in his game as he was trying to get back into shape was that little dump shot up there in that corner. And I see when he just missed that last one, I kind of remember Dave missing a lot of those against a kind of a pickup game that he played with you. Look at that.
It's a bad feeling when the only points you win are when the dump shots he misses. Emmett sort of got himself into that game right now. It seems like the only points Emmett's winning are the few shots Dave Chapman misses. Look at that anticipation from Dave Chapman.
I think Emmett's saying I let that ball bounce twice, and a couple people in the gallery picked it up.
I hope there's a time in handball, Dave, when the gallery doesn't clap when you call 2 bounces.
Almost signifies something worse than what's really happening, I guess.
Dave Chapman put a big natural hook on that ball. Hooked that ball right into Emmett's chest.
Well, he really loaded up on that ball, and then you saw that little hook there. It wasn't the biggest hop you've ever seen in your life, but it was quite effective. It jumped right into Emmett. He certainly wasn't looking for it to happen.
Son Lee tells me that's a wrinkle.
Put a little wrinkle on that ball. Dave Chapman proving to everybody that he can really hang with some of these top players. I mean, yeah, sure, it's only 1.5 games now, and it's against Emmett Peixoto. But, you know, Emmett is a former #1 ranked pro in the world rankings as well as the United States Handball Association rankings.
We have number 37 ranked Chip Morales working on the court here for us. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not Chip. Sorry about that, Chip. I think Chip's watching over there in Missouri State.
I believe that was Omar Lemus.
Oh, okay.
One of the better handball players in the Houston, Texas areas. He's also our camera operator who's down there clearing off the court so he can get a better camera view. Got a little glare coming off the back wall. Give a quick little wave to Omar. Thank you.
Omar's doing a wonderful job.
Looked a little bit like Chip Morales, though, except for I think Omar's a little bit thinner.
Look at that pass.
Oh, look at that get, though, from Emmett. That was a nice get. That's Emmett's strength right there, is tracking balls down like that.
Most players are extremely frustrated when their opponent makes a get like that. Dave Chapman's content to restart the rally.
I get a feeling that Dave Chapman just is considering this a workout at this moment, pushing Emmett Peixoto right and left, right and left. You would think that it's going to wear down Dave Chapman doing this. 6-2. That's a good call.
For those of you who don't know, Dave Chapman has lost a good amount of weight here in the last few months, challenged by a few of his friends, you and I included, and Emmett. Actually doing this match sort of to repay some of those friends for helping him get back into shape.
This is truly a joy to watch right here. Don't find myself as a person doing any type of play-by-play or broadcasting. I'm just feeling like I'm a spectator that's able to be so rude to talk during the play. And if I was in Ireland in the stands, they'd kick me out. This is truly a remarkable thing to witness, watching Dave Chapman in his big comeback. Oh, look at that shot from Dave. Spins around the back wall, makes it to the front wall, and I'm not quite sure if Emmett got this or not.
No, he didn't. Now let's watch this. Dave knows that there's really no shot he has on the court other than to try and end the rally from there.
Emmett actually did make that ball.
Oh, okay.
Just clipped the front wall. That was a nice return, though, from Dave. And Emmett even made a tough get himself, then has a meltdown with the left hand over there.
How do you practice that shot, Dave, when that ball is running completely parallel with the side wall?
Well, we've seen that about 10 times from Dave Chapman. He might have taken a 4-year, almost 3.5 to 4-year layoff, but he sure knows how to make that ball slide down that left wall.
Come on! What was that? Let's go!
Rightly so for Emmett Peixoto here. This emotional burst is very well needed at this point.
That was a terrible miss there from Emmett.
We've seen too much of that from Emmett. These misses, very streaky. I believe it's the right move for him to get emotional here.
The problem with Emmett, Dave, is that as he does become frustrated with himself, he starts to overswing, starts to overhit his shots.
Wow, look at that right there. That's like true genius. Can somebody please let me learn this shot right here from Dave? Watch what he does with his hands. Oh, I'm going to suck you in, then hit the ball right there down the left. There's no way you're going to get that.
Dave has the ability to hold that shot for as long as possible, forcing you to commit, and he sees you commit and drives that ball into the open space. Almost like a Roger Federer in tennis, Davey just waits that extra split second to hit that forehand, forces you to commit.
But if he wasn't close to it...
There's a screen ball called on this?
It's him. I don't think he could have got that. Maybe you could have.
I'm a little confused here. I don't remember seeing a screen on any of those shots. Did you see a screen there?
Let's listen in here for what Dave Chapman has to say. Dave Chapman's having a pretty good time out there. I don't think Emmett is sharing in the fun.
Well, certainly Dave wanted a point there. I don't know where I saw the screen, but Dave certainly wanted that, didn't want it to be called a screen ball, but Danny's having a good time.
Look where we see our #2 ranked pro in the world, Dave Vincent, Sean Lenning, in that front row, catching this handball action. You think these guys don't love handball? Sean Lenning, the 2nd ranked pro in the world, in the front row, not missing one shot in this match. All these guys love this game, Dave, live for this game.
Yeah, they're sitting right in here. Danny Bell came up to us and asked if he could ref this because he wanted to get the closest seat to the Dave Chapman experience.
How often do you see that, Dave? Pro players volunteering to ref a match.
Because, quote, it's the closest seat to Dave Chapman. I think that shows you a lot about a guy who's 46 years old who wants to learn more about his game, wants to get the front row seat. That was a strange
shots Emmett's hit all match.
Nice get, though. And he tracks it down but doesn't make it back to the front wall. Dave doing that big ball shot that he has.
Dave basically has Emmett doing wind sprints. Here we go.
But Emmett catches up with that.
Front to back. Here he goes.
Emmett should have left his feet, I think, about 5 feet back there and just dove in and punched that ball. Of course, you have to worry about hitting the sidewall. And these floors are not forgiving. You dive one time, you find out that you won't dive again out here.
Yeah, the floor wins when you dive. Dave Chapman with a nifty behind the back shot.
Oh, look at that
backhand
shot from Dave, and he's back on the ground again and barely misses it. That's a nice exchange. Let's look at that again in the replay. In fact, I cannot wait to see this in the replay. Dave takes it with a backhand with his right. I know that a lot of players would try to take that with their left hand, but Dave wants to be in perfect position in his body to get back up again.
You heard Dave say the floor's not very forgiving there. That was a phenomenal rally. It's one of the few times Emmett's been able to run Dave around the court. It's the veteran move here from Dave. He took about 45 seconds there to get himself ready for the next point.
Dave's shaking off those cobwebs from getting down on the ground. I mean, I'm telling you right now, that the floor is really brutal.
It's the kind of point Emmett needs to play. Beautiful pass shot.
And somehow Dave wins the rally. Emmett's dictating the court flow right now. He's in the upper part of the court, but then Dave wins the rally.
Emmett not executing his kills thus far in this second game. I go back to what I said a couple times thus far, Dave. I feel like Emmett's overswing. As you know, Dave, when you overswing on your kill shots, those balls are not going to stay down.
Nice replay there.
Obviously, your kill shots are at their best when you're relaxed.
Score is 10-3. Dave back to that lob serve, the overhand lob. Emmett's going for every kill shot opportunity he has with his left hand. I guess this is when Emmett throws his goggles down, you automatically assume that he's calling a timeout. Some people like to take their tip of their fingers and hit it to the bottom of their hand to make the tee. Emmett's little click that he has, the little tick that he's got going on is throwing those goggles down during this match. He's very frustrated and upset with himself. But you know why he is? Because Dave Chapman put him in that position. I mean, you're looking at Dave Chapman as cool as the other side of the pillow, and you look next door to him, and Emmett's having a mental breakdown in here. Look at all the handsome gentlemen out there in the gallery here in Detroit.
Certainly some good-looking individuals out there taking in the action.
(11-3) now after winning the first one, 21-12. Dave Chapman, after that quick timeout, coming back into serve. There's another redo. (11-3). That was a miss hit from Emmett. And Dave just loads up and passes that ball past Emmett down the left side.
Put enough reverse on that ball to run it down the wall.
Have you ever seen Dave actually stand over there on the left wall and then at the last second hit the lob over to the right side? He does that maybe like once a tournament.
It's a very effective shot.
I've never seen him lose a point doing that. He only does it about once, and what it does is it works into the psyche. The player actually recognizes, oh, that's you know, something that you're doing that's kind of trickery, and they get out of their mind of playing offensive. And Dave already has made it, you know, an effective shot. Although I'm not, you know, we haven't seen it here.
We've seen Emmett try and take that lob serve with his left hand off the back wall and try and kill it straight down the left wall, which is nearly an impossible shot. Each time that ball's come to the center of the court about a foot high, Dave Chapman's really had any shot he wants from that position on the court.
Emmett Peixoto looks like he's about ready to start crying. I mean,
well, he's being completely dismantled here by his idol and a guy that he thought he was going to be able to pretty much handle here 3.5 years after his retirement. Hasn't been the case at all. You have to think Emmett's thinking of ways he can just make this match respectable at this point. He's trailing now 14-3 after a pretty sound beating there in that first game.
You saw an interesting shot of Emmett getting down on kind of in the crouch position against the back wall, and he put his gloves up to his head, and he hit himself in the goggles a couple times, and then immediately Dave serves, gets the point, and then Emmett looks at his gloves and says, "My gloves are wet," after he just ran his fingers through his own hair. Gets the timeout. Emmett's not sticking out in the front right here. He's actually hightailing it out of there. I think he's having a little emotional trouble. And like you said, I mean, his mentor is Dave Chapman, and it's just I think he's taken all the spirits out of Emmett. I don't think Emmett thought he'd score 3 points right now.
I mean, let's be honest here, Dave. I mean, this is a complete dismantling of the number 3 player in the world.
Amazing.
By a guy that hasn't played a competitive pro handball match or pro handball tournament in nearly 4 years.
Here we are in February of 2008, and one of the last tournaments he played in, last 4-wall tournament he played in was June of 2004, Portland, Oregon. Love that shot right there from Dave. Oh, and it's junk time. And that one actually stuck in. That's the first one he hit that didn't hit the sidewall. Look at this beautiful shot from Dave. Try to learn this one back home, would you? Look at that ball, and it sticks in and slides to the left wall. Now, is it officially junk time now?
Dave Chapman can make his routine shots look like junk time. That's a shot, Dave, that he'll hit at 9-9 in the tiebreaker.
I mean, but look at this. He just forcing Emmett over there to Emmett's strong hand. That was a miss from Dave Chapman. Oh, wow. He just dumps it in the right side. Emmett is just very frustrated here. This is an amazing shot.
Dave Chapman is really the only guy in handball that can win a match by not even attempting a kill.
Watch this here. Wham. Just slams that ball into the right corner. Just a soft little paddle shot. So effective. If you want to call it a dump shot, you can, but
it'd be interesting, Dave, to talk to Emmett about what he thinks about his own performance in this match. I have a feeling he'd think that he didn't play well, but to be honest, I think that Dave Chapman is just completely taking him out of his game.
Out of the top 30 players in the world, Emmett would have probably beat about 27 of them. He's just not going to beat Dave Chapman on this day.
I agree with that.
(18-3) is the score. That's a miss hit right there. That's very rare.
Dave Chapman trying to hit that ball straight down the right wall, not trying to hit the right side wall first. I can see a little bit of fatigue in Dave Chapman's legs. I think it's going to be too late, though, for Emmett to do anything about that.
Out of the last 44 points scored, Dave Chapman has scored 34 of them.
Dave has so much control of his body and his shots when he goes down to the ground. We see a lot of people go down to the ground and just trying to get that ball back. Dave Chapman's going down to the ground and doing something with that ball. Not only placing it, but with spin on it. Dave Chapman just so dangerous from everywhere on the court.
Over the last 2 games, Dave Chapman has outscored Emmett Peixoto 35-11. Now that's a nice little series of events for Emmett if you're in the Emmett Peixoto camp. Watch how he just hops around Dave there and just puts the ball away.
That's the best swing Emmett's made all match right there.
Had a little contact, he overcame that and put the ball in the perfect spot. And there's Dave off the back wall, still hasn't lost it.
All right.
5-19.
I think that's the reason Emmett stayed away from that power serve. Here we go.
Yeah, this is a total setup off the back wall. Look how low that ball's off the ground. I mean, is he grazing the ground with his hand right there? That's amazing. It's 19-5. Dave Chapman won the first one. That was a miss hit from Emmett. You can hear in his voice. Emmett tracks that ball down. Look at these gets. Wow. Is that the rally of the tournament? Emmett went front, back, front, back, front, back. And then front again.
It looked like Dave Chapman was just entertaining himself here in this point.
Now watch Emmett just jump back up to the front and gets to the ball again. All the way to the back wall again. Dumps it. And look who's right back in the play again, Emmett Peixoto.
Dave Chapman just torturing Emmett there.
This is for possible game and match. And as quickly as this thing began, it ends pretty quickly too. Dave Chapman now takes game number 2, winning 21-5 after winning the first one 21-12. Well, there it is, Dave Chapman's comeback, and here's the crowd here in Detroit at the Detroit Athletic Club giving Dave Chapman a standing ovation. His first match back in almost 4 years, returning to pro handball for be it a short time. And this is what he does, a total dismantling of one of the top players in the world, Emmett Peixoto.